How you prepare for a golf tournament?
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
Thank you, Mr. John Daly, as we welcome you into a Tuesday edition of the Daily Puck Drop, hashtag the DPD. As you can see, of course, we are in the Puck Sports Studios, built by our good friends at Limbach Lumber, family owned and serving the Northwest since 1930. Northwest premier supplier of specialized lumber and moldings. Summer is here. That means it's fence and deck season. I mentioned before, we got to replace a fence that separates ourselves from our neighbors, and we are going to use Limbach lumber. Now, am I going to do the work? No, because I can't hammer anything. But I'm going to go to the trusted experts there at Limbach Lumber. Not only going to get my lumber, but they're going to help me out find someone to do it. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. I can't build anything. And it is, honestly, a sad commentary on me as a man. Okay? Don't be like me. Be a real man. But be like me and contact Limbach Lumber at 206-782-3487 or visit them online at limbachlumber.com. Puck Sports Studios built by Limbach Lumber. All right, what do we got planned on a Tuesday show? Well, not a lot going on in the sports world other than the home run derby last night, but we have to start there, don't we? With the home run derby. And you know where we have to start. And I feel I have kind of mocked as everyone did last night. And then now I feel very, very bad for that woman. But that was terrible. That national anthem. Dear Lord, what was that? Huh? What the hell was that?
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah, they were cheering because it was over. I mean, I'm watching that. I'm kind of half paying attention last night. And I watched it on delay, by the way. And I'm like, what's wrong with her? Like, is she sick? Someone had mentioned something on Twitter that they think she was high. I think she was. Yeah, I think she took something. She just didn't seem normal. She didn't seem right. And this, I'd never heard of her. Maybe some of you who I like country music too. I like it all, but I'd never heard of her. For those who have heard of her, she was nominated 4 times for a Grammy. Like, how? Not sounding like that, I hope. Please. Now I kind of feel bad because she's getting just killed on social media. Absolutely killed. And so now part of me feels awful that everyone is piling on her, because can you imagine how she feels today? She's got on there. She's got on social media. She has seen the reaction of her performance. But I don't know. The only way I can describe what I watched and listened to last night, I mean,
For the land of
right here.
the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah. Poor gal. High. Drugs. Had to be drugs. Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way to explain it. So it got started off on a rough note of the home run derby, and then the derby took place. And once again, I don't know how they solved this, because I know a lot of people last night were like, let's go back to the 10-out rule instead of the clock. Yeah, but that will make it longer. The problem with the derby, it's just too long. It drags on forever. It needs to be faster. They need to figure out a format in which it's faster. And I think this clock thing was supposed to help with that. Now, for those who want go back to the old ways where it was just the 10 ounce, yeah, but that's not, how is that going to be faster? Because guys are just going to sit there and take their time if they only have 10 ounce. And so there's no time limit. You got to have some type of time limit on it. I don't know, man. How about a minute? Maybe that's the best way to do it. Let's just go to a minute, because it really, like, I love the home run derby. It's fun. of all the All-Star festivities. I mean, the dunk contest truly was the best one when all the best athletes or the best players actually did it, and that was fun. But the home run derby is fun as well. It's like it makes you feel like a kid again. We talked about that yesterday with the go-to guy. Just it makes you feel like a kid watching it. But it's way too long. I mean, that thing started at 5 and it got over at I think 8:30. I mean, it's just dragged, and it was, too many breaks and stoppages and commercials and all that kind of stuff. But it was a fantastic finish between Bobby Witt and Teoscar Hernandez. And I think as Mariner fans, you all said the same thing. The regret, not buyer's remorse, but just regret that he's not in a Mariners uniform anymore. Yeah, it did come across my mind as well. It is, though, interesting because there were a lot of you that last year when he had that option didn't want to pick it up. Didn't think he was worth it. So you can't then come back and flip around and say, God, I wish we had Teoscar back. I don't know. I was trying to think last night what I thought about him and bringing him back. I think I was probably lukewarm on it. I think the strikeouts were a huge thing, and he didn't hit well at T-Mobile. We're going to get to his comments about hitting at T-Mobile here in a quick second, because I want to relay something that Bill Kruger told me weeks ago on the program on one of his visits, and I'm trying to find the soundbite, and we'll find it eventually. But yeah, I mean, clearly the way the situation has gone in right field, would you want him back? Yeah, he's not going to be putting up the same numbers that he's putting up in LA, in Seattle. Just not going to happen, because he didn't do it when he was here. He did it on the road, but he didn't certainly do it at home. One last note here quickly on the All-Star game, or on the home run derby. Can we do better with the broadcasters? Yeah, I know some of you don't like Chris Berman, but I miss Chris Berman on that thing. I miss the back. I miss all of that because he was entertaining. That crew, not entertaining at all. Carl Ravitch is a fine broadcaster, but he's just not built for that. Todd Frazier, fine. It was actually more enjoyable when Griffey was on it for a little bit. But here's the guy I cannot stand, Eduardo Perez. What was with the constant reference to the poop bag? Get your poop bag out on that one. That's one of the dumbest calls and references from an announcer I've ever heard. And he said it and he thought it was funny, and he must have said it like 4 or 5 times. Oh, I gotta get, really, because he wants to say he shit on that one. Get your poop bag out on that one. Who am I to make fun of people, huh? Look at me. Look what I'm doing. But honestly, it was just, can we do better than those guys? ESPN spends a lot of money on this thing. We're not find 3 better players, 3 better people that are more entertaining than those 3 to do it. They're all just, I don't know. Where's Kirchin? Put Kirchin on there. I could stomach Kirchin. I like Tim Kirchin. There's nobody else there. That network that covers baseball, none other personalities there. Anybody that could do it. You know, they should have done, whether you like him or not. Get McAfee and his crew to sit there and do it. They would have been a hell of a lot more entertaining than that group last night. But yeah, Teoscar winning, it was fun. Bobby Witt Jr., that last one, boy, that almost went out. It was unbelievable. It was just great. It was great to see all the Phillies teammates there all rallying around, their teammates. So that was awesome. Back to the Teoscar story. So Adam Jude has this in the Seattle Times, and it's a pretty good read, and I would encourage people to go out and check it out. He caught up with Teoscar at the media day for the All-Star game, and he said that, his time in Seattle, he could just never, ever, ever get comfortable hitting there. That it was something that was with the batter's box and how it's lined up, that it's off. It's kind of off in terms of how you look at the pitcher's mound to the backdrop to home plate. And that every time he stepped in there, he just never felt comfortable. And he can never get comfortable. And it's interesting because when I read that yesterday, it reminded me of a not story, but of a note that Bill Kruger told me a few weeks ago, where he said that, part of the reason that hitters struggle there so much is because when they built it, the batter's eye, so what they see is not centered. And that it's at this like obtuse angle to home plate, and so it leaves it open to the sun. But the way that the pitcher's mound, second base, and then the backdrop looks to the hitter, it's just off. And that's exactly what Teoscar Hernandez told Adam Jude of the Seattle Times, that it every time he went up there, it just felt off. I mean, his numbers back it up. I mean, on the road, when he was here in 2023, his OPS on the road was 830. At home, it was 643. He said, quote, did Teoscar when talking to Adam Jude, I talked to a lot of players around the league. They feel the same thing. When they go to Seattle and play 2 or 3 games over there, they have the same feeling. So it was not only me. And he went on to say that he never felt like he was lined up in a straight line with the pitcher's mound at T-Mobile Park. He said, quote, to Jude, it was a little crooked. I didn't feel really straight with the pitcher. And for some reason, I moved everywhere in the batter's box and tried to fix it, but I couldn't figure it out. And remember, they denied, or they declined his $20 million player option. So or qualifying offer. So this was exactly what Kruger said about, I want to say about a month ago, that part of the reason a lot of hitters that he's talked to, it's the same thing. So then you got to think, well, what the hell were they thinking? I mean, so that's got to be an advantage to them when they pitch, for sure. So that's why you see the numbers for the Mariners are so skewed for most of them at home opposed to on the road. But then when it comes to the design of the stadium, did they just F it up? And then they built it and then realized that we screwed up? It was just a design flaw. So now I don't know how you fix it. Can you fix it? Can they? Should they reconfigure things over there? What are we selling back? 25 years? I did wonder at what point do Mariner owners come back to the county and come back to the people and say, yeah, we need to redo the thing, because it's going to come at some point that they're going to ask for more money to do some certain things to it. But should in the offseason they correct that? I don't know if they can correct it or not. I have no idea. It would be worth looking into. So I'm just giving you the assignment, Jude and Divish. You guys can do it. But I would like to know, can they, this issue that Teoscar has talked about and other hitters have talked about, that Kruger told us about as well, can they correct it in the offseason and somehow fix the mound and fix the batter's box? Because what he said, is alarming on a couple of fronts. One, we talk a lot about, why can this organization not attract free agents? And what are the factors? One, are they cheap? Do they not want to sign guys? Do they not want to give them contracts that will appeal to them, that will allow them to come to Seattle? I think that's part of it. I think money has been a part of it for a long time. Their unwillingness to spend a lot on free agents. The travel, I think a lot of people have talked about that. I mean, they are stuck way up there, or we are stuck way up here. Travel is hard. I think for a lot of these players, they take note of that, especially when they come here. And do they want to play here for, a season? Do they want to go with that travel? And then I think the other thing too is the ballpark. I mean, it's a fantastic ballpark if you're a pitcher. But if you're a hitter and you want to put up offensive numbers, I think you look at that place and go, yeah, that's just not for me. And whether that's true or not, I mean, we'd have to go a deep dive into all the numbers offensively. I mean, just off the top of my head, I don't remember Nelson Cruz having a hard time hitting there. He always liked to hit there. It could just be something for these players. It just gets in their head. And then they just simply cannot get past the notion or the narrative that it's hard to hit there. But there are challenges to get free agents here. You've seen it. We've all seen it over the last few years, where they can't, attract the best talent. And the one way you combat that, you combat the whole thing with, yes, it might be a tough ballpark to hit in, is you got to overpay. And they've been unwilling to overpay in that department. That's why when they've tried to make moves, and what they'll probably try to do here at the deadline as well, got to acquire guys. And just force them to come here. But I think what Teoscar said I think then now has opened it up for this organization to now in the offseason, one of the things that they need to do is to see if they can fix it. Whatever this issue is that Teoscar told Adam Jude about the batter's box and then the pitcher's mound being off, right? That it's affecting how hitters see the ball and how hitters can't get comfortable inside the batter's box. Because I mean, it's true. If that's in your head and then you're so worried about, God, it doesn't look like I'm lined up to the pitcher, so I'm off. Then you got that going through your head. Yeah, it rattles you as a hitter. And you got a guy who was a good offensive player for you for the most part for the overall of the season, but just not at home. And so if that's something that is preventing you from attracting free agents, I mean, John Stanton, Chris Larson, all these guys, they need to do a real deep dive in this whole thing and see if they can fix it here in the off season. So I don't know, just kind of a interesting thing that he said. And then it just reminded me exactly what Bill Kruger said a little while ago, about a month ago on the program. He mentioned this exact same thing. Yes, I'm efforting to try and find the audio. I'm trying to, I tried to find it all last night and I could not find it, but we will try to locate it and play it back for you. And then we'll just ask Kruger on his next visit on Monday. Just go more into that, but not a good ringing endorsement for trying to get free agents with what Teoscar Hernandez told Adam Jude of the Seattle Times there at Media Day. It is the Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tonight. Corbin Burns against Paul Skeens. That coverage will get underway there at 4 o'clock. All right. With Jim Duquette on Monday's show, he was at the All-Star Game, and we talked about, for basically the majority of the conversation was surrounded about Jazz Chisholm and the trade rumors surrounding him and whether or not Chisholm, the center fielder / second baseman for the Marlins, would be a good fit for Seattle. Now, offensively, you look at his numbers and you put him on this year's team and you're like, well, yeah, that'd be pretty good. It would look pretty good there. He does have a little bit of pop, not crazy home run numbers, obviously. He can steal a base. He's athletic. He's fast. He's personal. There are a lot of great qualities about Jazz Chisholm, but I asked Duquette, if they added him, would that suffice and help this offense?
If they could get a second piece, I would say it would be one of the more significant trades that we will see at this deadline. I'd say it's at least a B trade. That would be in that range. Jazz is one of those where, depending on how much you have to give up here, I think it would probably be a B trade. If they gave up, Emerson, I don't think I'd like that as much.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably downgrade the grade if he was included in it. But if Ford was in it, I think it's fair value, and I think he would be a huge fit. But I also think that they need to do more. I want to give them a full grade for the entire trade deadline. This grade would be good, but it wouldn't be good enough for what they need.
So their top 3 prospects in the Mariners organization: Cole Young, Harry Ford, and then Colt Emerson. Okay, and so he said, "Listen, if it's Emerson, I mean, he ruled out Young, but acknowledged that the Miami Marlins are going to ask for Cole Young, but he said that's off the table." He said, and then it mentioned there with Colt Emerson that no, I'm not trading Colt Emerson for Jazz Chisholm. Did mention, Harry Ford would be the guy that he would part with. And now we've talked a lot about Harry Ford for weeks and months and why it does make sense for Seattle to part there with Harry Ford. The concern with it is, and you don't have to, the concern is that now is what's the future of Cal Raleigh? Now, you don't have to answer that now because Cal is not a free agent for another 4 years. So in the next 3 years, if you are getting a sense that he's not going to resign here or does not want to be a part of the Mariners, then I guess you can pivot and try to find a catcher later. You did draft this guy. You have developed him. He looks like he's going to be a very solid player, has the potential to be a star. He's highly coveted there in baseball, but if his path to the big leagues is blocked because of Cal Raleigh, then trade him. Divish has said it multiple times that he believes that Harry Ford will be dealt at the deadline. I guess I could stomach the Harry Ford for Jazz Chisholm. I'm just not a big fan of Jazz Chisholm. I'm just not. I don't really understand the fascination with him. He's a career on base percentage of 308. His OPS is 749. Yeah, he does have a little bit of pop, but we're talking like 19, 20 home runs. I mean, it's okay. I mean, his career high in RBIs is 53. He's never played a full season. He's on pace to probably get there this year if he can stay healthy, but the most games he's ever played is 124. I think it's been back and forth of the teammate that he is. He is flashy. He has a big personality. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think there have been too many examples of people that cover him of personality issues where he doesn't get along with teammates. You know, from all indications, you know, his spat that he had with Miguel Rojas, people are like, everybody gets along with Miguel Rojas. And all Miguel Rojas was trying to get him to understand is not that you can't be yourself, but you do still have to carry yourself in a professional manner. And I think Chisholm took it as some type of disrespect from Rojas that he couldn't be himself. And I don't think, just in reading it and just kind of, you know, the backstory on it, I don't think it was Rojas saying that he couldn't be himself. It's just Rojas saying, hey, you can be yourself, but at the same time, you've got to be professional about it. And the thing that sticks out to me the most is how Chisholm was upset at Rojas and claimed Rojas wasn't a good team leader because Rojas didn't wake him up multiple times when he was sleeping through a team meeting. Yeah, but that's on you, man. Like, set your alarm, set your phone, watch, whatever. It's not the responsibility of your teammate to wake you up. It's your responsibility to wake yourself up. So I don't know. I think if you add him, he can't be the piece, right? He can't be the piece. And if you trade your second overall prospect for a guy that can't be the piece, I don't know. I think that just feels like a lot. That feels like a lot to give up. Now, we've said this many times that we don't care about prospects. At least I have. I don't care about them as much as other people do. I think if you can trade prospects for major league ready talent, then you do it. And so I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I don't really care for the player. I just don't. I don't think that it's that big of a splash and that big of an improvement to your baseball team. Now you control them. So those are the things that Jerry Dipoto and this organization likes. You can control them for a few more years. And so that is appealing to it. I do think the style of play and his speed is appealing in that ballpark. So I think there could be some advantages to him. I would just want to know from Chisholm, what's your buy-in? Are you bought into being a good teammate? Are you buying into winning? Now, you could also say that, hey, man, this guy switched positions. He went from being a second baseman. They asked him to play center field, and he did it. And so maybe he did buy into it. And maybe that stuff about him being a bad teammate is overblown. I just think the thing with him is he has been projected as and we said this to Duquette yesterday, projected as a top 5 player in the game, but he's never delivered like a top five player in the game. And so I agree with Duquette. If you do this move, it clearly right now is an upgrade at second base, with Polanco for sure. No one's going to argue that. But it cannot be the only move. Chisholm has got to be has to be in addition to another move being made to improve this offense. I thought it was interesting that Duquette and Bill Kruger, who I record these guys separately, both said the same thing when I asked them about the deal. They both said, could you do a deal in which it's not just Chisholm coming over from Miami, but let's say it's another player. It's another 2 players. And they both mentioned independently of themselves. One, and I've been fascinated with Josh Bell for a long time. Now, he's not having a great season this year and basically is putting up kind of the same numbers that you're seeing from Ty France, but he's at 228. His OPS is 644, and he's slugging 356. So it's not great. Switch hitter, something that they like. You can not only play him at first base, but you can DH him as well. And then also A.J. Puck, who's a left-handed reliever in the Marlins bullpen. Not having a great year, but has had flashes in the past. And as Kruger noted, and he's right, they need another bullpen arm, and they probably need another lefty. But it was just, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying you do this. I'm not saying that Bell makes sense, nor am I saying that Puck makes sense. I mean, Puck kind of makes more sense. One, it would be good for me, right? Cohesion with the show. But both of them saying that at the same time, I just thought was, in two independent interviews, I just thought was just odd and interesting to hear them both kind of mention the same three players. I don't think that's something they would do, nor do I think Bell's an upgrade of what you have right now. But just back to the original point with adding Chisholm is that you add Chisholm, it's got to be in somebody else in addition to that. Is that Luis Robert Jr.? Do you go back to Toronto and keep bugging them about Vlad Guerrero Jr.? I will not believe that GM for the Blue Jays when he sits there and says, despite what he said multiple times, I'll see it when I believe it. If we get to the deadline and it passes and they didn't move him, okay, he was telling the truth. But I never believe these guys when they come out and they're like, no, we are not going to move said person. But wouldn't do it for Young for sure. And I probably agree with him not doing it for Emerson. The risk with doing it with Harry Ford is there just is no guarantee at all that you are bringing Cal Raleigh back. So we'll focus and we'll follow that story as it continues to develop. Seahawks training camp, boy, it's it's less than a week away. How about that? July 24th. It starts next week. It's crazy that's already starting next week. You've seen the not of the preview stories are starting to come out a little bit. It's going to be weird to see that camp develop without Pete Carroll and all of it. The gloves, throwing the football, the bag drills, the music, just everything that comes with Pete Carroll. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's just going to be weird not to see him. And I think exciting to a degree because you're getting something new. And we'll see if Mike McDonald can work. And we'll see if this plan there from John Schneider is going to work. I think it's an exciting time for the Seahawks. It's an exciting time because it's something where it's going in a different direction, right? You're going to get a brand new offense. You're going to get a brand new defense. I'm excited about the defense. It got stale for many, many years. I'm intrigued and excited to see McDonald come in with a defensive system that wants to be multiple, that wants to be confusing, that wants to try and trick the offense, pre-snap and then post-snap, all of it. And he's got a great track record and a great resume coming there from Baltimore. And then on the flip side, offensively, and we've talked about it many times, I just can't wait to see what Ryan Grubb can do at the NFL level. He was so good at the collegiate level. How much of it was him? How much of it was DeBoer? How much of it was the offensive personnel that he had? I mean, I think it's all a combo of all of it, right? But there is no doubt that he's got a blueprint and an offensive system that I think will thrive in the NFL. And I just can't wait to see it. So I can't wait to see it all get underway. All right. Before we leave here on the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD, well, one quick note on the training camp. We'll try to get out there for a few shows and do some interviews. Also, coming up here in the next few weeks, we'll unveil what we're going to do in the fall for our football coverage. You won't be disappointed with what we're going to do here coming up in the fall, covering the Seahawks, Cougs, and the Huskies there as well. But before we go here, hey, what the puck, as we wrap up every Daily Puck Drop, the DPD here at Puck Sports and pucksports.com. And as we mentioned yesterday, hey, what the puck has got a brand new sponsor. And we're happy to welcome Restoration One of North Seattle with us. So, hey, what the puck is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that gets things back to normal when things aren't normal anymore. So avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with Restoration One's property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. I know the owner, Trent. He's a good guy. That's what you want. When you got a local shop and a local company, you want somebody like your guy, Trent, running Restoration One. Make them your first call when damage happens at your residential or commercial property when something goes wrong. Give them a call at 206-817-8917. Again, that phone number, 206-817-8917, or visit them at restoration1.com and search the North Seattle franchise. Restoration One of North Seattle sponsoring Hey, What the Puck. All right, British Open Golf Pool is back. We mentioned this yesterday, but it's open. Just go to pucksports.com. You'll see the link there. Click on it. Don't click on the ads when those pop up. It's free, it's easy, and it's quick. All you got to do is sign up. You pick 5 golfers, and it's just total earnings, right? Total earnings of what those golfers get here of the next 4 days, starting there on Thursday. You have until Thursday at 1 a.m. to get all your picks in. The British Open pool is back. I'm just calling it the British Open, not to confuse anyone. I prefer to call it the Open Championship. That's just me. But it's there. So go to pucksports.com, click on the link, pick your 5 golfers. We've got a first place prize, $150 to John Howie Steak. Second place prize is $50 to Zeke's Pizza. Big shout out to Dan Black and Zeke's for giving us that gift card. I always appreciate the support there from Zeke's, who will, of course, bring you John Canzano every single week. And then the third place prize, just great friends, always have been great supporters of me and then the show, Georgetown Brewery. $25 gift card there to Georgetown Brewery. So the British Open Golf Pool is back. Go visit pucksports.com. Sign up today. It's quick. All you got to do is pick 5 golfers. It's the easiest thing in the world. You'll be done in 5 minutes, guaranteed. Colin Montgomery. What a putz. Who likes Colin Montgomery? No one. There's no one that likes the guy. He's a dick. And apparently last week, in an interview in the London newspaper, said that Tiger Woods, I mean, he didn't say this, but he was saying this, is embarrassing himself and should walk away. And why is he playing at the Open Championship? He should just, like the rest of us, we've reached a certain age. We can call it quits. We should call it quits, and he should call it quits and just be done with the game of golf. Well, the 15-time major champion and the owner of 3 claret jugs had a press conference today and responded to old fat Monty.
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do.
Yeah, F you, Monty, coming after Tiger Woods. And I've seen some people saying, well, Monty's right. You don't want to see these past champions and guys embarrass themselves when they go out there. And it is one of these things with sport, right, where when you watch guys that you have watched over many, many years play at such a high level, whatever sport it is, and then when you see the decline, it's hard to watch the decline. Because you remember all the great moments, the great shots, the great goals, the great touchdowns, all of it. And I do understand it. But I also understand the athlete that just wants to compete and wants to do everything to compete and loves the juice of competition. And I think that's Tiger Woods. He loves the juice of competition. And the thing about the Open Championship is he can win this thing again. I mean, precedent has been set because of the course, because of the walk, because of the shots that you can do there, because length doesn't come into a factor as much on a links course as it does on other golf courses. He will always have a shot as long as he can walk. I mean, Tom Watson was he 58 when he almost won the damn thing? So Tiger has, if he's going to win anything, if he's going to win another major, I think he'll win one of these. I don't think he'll probably never win Augusta again in the Masters just because of the walk and the toll it takes on him, even though he knows that course better than anyone. But this one he can win. That little 2-iron stinger shot that he does and the way he can run it up and how creative he can be, to approaches and playing in weather, if weather is going to be bad there, yeah, he's got a shot. He's won the damn thing 3 times. But why does he keep playing? Because he wants to. That's why. And you know what? He has the right to play as long as he wants to play because of what he has meant to the game of golf. So, hey, Fat Monty, just because you can't do it, don't crap on Tiger Woods. I love Tiger Woods. Who doesn't love Tiger Woods? Good for him. College football news. So the rumors keep swirling right now as Florida State wants out of the ACC, but reports coming out now they're not going to be joining the Big Ten or the SEC. Brett McMurphy reports. Would they join the Big 12? All signs are pointing towards possibly a relationship between Florida State and Clemson going to the Big 12. Now the question is, if that does happen, and it kind of seems like it will happen, that Brett Yormark guy will take anybody, and he will raid anyone. He is uber aggressive as a commissioner. What happens to the ACC? Does it crumble? What do? Do they add teams to try and stay alive? I mean, if those two teams leave, it is over. It's like, in theory, when USC and UCLA left the conference. Yeah, was it surviving? Could it have survived with Oregon and Washington? I do believe it could have. This conference cannot survive without those two at all. But I think the people that say that once the LA schools left, in theory, you killed West Coast football, and I would certainly agree to a degree with that. What happens to the ACC? I mean, they're done. What does Cal and Stanford do? Does Cal and Stanford try to come back to the West Coast and do something with Washington State and Oregon State? Does the ACC try to merge with them? I don't know. There was an interesting story that came out yesterday. Teresa Gould, who was the commissioner of the Pac-12 or Pac-2, doing an interview with Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports, and she basically said that it doesn't appear the Mountain West has any interest in Washington State and Oregon State other than this brief honeymoon they have here for the next year or two. Other than that, they don't really want them to be a part of the conference. So right now, Oregon State and Washington State, I have no idea what they're going to do. But kind of a fascinating story. So I'm looking at it this angle of Florida State and Clemson leaving to go to the Big 12. What does it mean for Cal and Stanford? Is that some type of leverage to somehow get Cal and Stanford back in play there with West Coast football, Washington State, and Oregon State? All right, moving on here on Hey, What the Puck, which again is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration issues, water, fire, and mold damage, give those folks a call at 206-817-8917. Over to the NBA Summer League, and everyone's got jokes. Bronny James has just told you. I mean, everyone told you. He cannot play at this level. And it's just evident. The guy is averaging 5 points, and he's playing 26 minutes a game. He's out of his league. He's absolutely out of his league. He's 0 for 15 from the three-point line. I'm watching highlights yesterday. He airballed 2 or 3 three-pointers. It's I feel bad for him. Someone noted that on social media, and I agree. I do kind of feel bad for him right now because he's not ready, and the only reason he's there is because his dad's LeBron, and they're going to put him on that team, and they're going to play him in an NBA game, and it's just going to be real bad. But he is off to a rough start in the Vegas Summer League. Again, averaging 5 points, 26 minutes of play, and looks completely overmatched by guys who don't have guaranteed contracts and guaranteed spots on the team. Lastly, speaking of LeBron James, one of his adversaries, Skip Bayless, is out at Fox. Apparently, the numbers were terrible. They were getting like 50,000 people or something watching it, and so Fox and him, they pulled the plug. He's still going to get paid something like $34 million. And I'll never understand this because I know there's people watching and listening to this right now that probably who listen to me and Jim on the radio and are listening and watching right now that probably watch that stuff as well. Why? Why do you watch it? Why do you watch that stuff when they just sit there and the manufactured storylines, the BS they come up with? The rehearsing, all those shows are so rehearsed. And then all they do is simply just yell at each other. Why does that appeal to people? And it appealed to a lot of you because those guys clearly they were successful for a period of time because they got paid. And people did tune in to watch it. But obviously, once that marriage between Stephen A. and Bayless, they broke up. They kind of went their separate ways, and they kind of made it. Well, Bayless kind of made it work for a little while, but then when they lost Shannon Sharp, it just all kind of went to kind of shit after that. But I don't know. I don't know how he makes it again. He's made a lot of money, but I just never understood the allure to that type of programming. Never have ever understood it. Just don't get it. don't get it's not so much the yelling, it's the manufactured storylines. You know, when you know they're just making stuff up to talk about LeBron, Dak Prescott, and whatever else they can recycle, right? It's the old sports radio July Mount Rushmore. Who's your Mount Rushmore of the NBA? We all did it. We're all guilty of it, but Skip Bayless is out. Hey, lastly here, it's a Tuesday. We play the best voicemails coming up on Friday, but the voicemail line is open. All you got to do is visit pucksports.com. The phone number is 425-577-7272, but the voicemail line is open. We'll play the best ones on Friday with the great Jim Moore when he rejoins the program. Again, Jim's on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. So we'll talk to Jim coming up on tomorrow's show. All right, that is Hey, What the Puck? And again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that gets things back to normal. Avoid the stress, water, fire, and mold damage with Restoration One's property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them their first call when damage happens at your residential or commercial property goes wrong. Give them a call, 206-817-8917, or visit them at restoration1.com. Search for their North Seattle franchise. Coming up later, we'll talk to John Canzano from johncanzano.com, brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. It's going to be a little bit later. He's got things going on right now, so we're going to record him later in the afternoon around 2 o'clock. So we'll be out around 3-ish, 3:30. We'll get the very latest with Florida State, Clemson. What does that mean for Cal and Stanford, Washington State and Oregon State? Comments from Teresa Gould to Dennis Dodd. What does he make of all of that? So again, John Canzano coming up a little bit later. But that is it for the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. We release it every day at 10 a.m. Inside the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limbeck Lumber. Big thanks to Limbeck Lumber and the crew there, Paul, Matt, and Mark. Thank you so much for the support. Again, you can find the Daily Puck Drop, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And, of course, you can always visit the website there at pucksports.com. We will talk to you later. As always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!